Most people think great kitchens run on recipes. The best ones run on standards. Today's guest is Belfast native Paul Waters. He is a celebrity chef who turns simple, tasty, healthy into a high-performance system. From world-class kitchens at the Savoy and at the Sydney Opera House to working cooks at home around the world, teaching them how to win dinner on a Tuesday. Paul's playbook is about pressure, precision, and pride in Northern Irish produce. If you lead teams on the line or in the boardroom, this episode is a masterclass on how to set the tone, protect the craft, and make better decisions when the heat's up. This is the business end. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for having me. Hope you're well.
All good here,
We're
mate.
well, Paul. We're well. We're ready. We're ready to start the interrogation.
Happy days. There we go. That's it. I think any time talking to Justin's interrogation, so there you go.
Justin's quite easy to appease. You just show him a few of your recipes.
Exactly.
Well, it's like a carrot to a donkey.
Exactly that.
You're probably coming for saying that, mate.
So, let's dig into the first question. As with all our guests, we look into the DNA of what makes them like an elite performer. In your case, it's a world-class chef. So what do you think was in your background to make you an elite chef? And no pun intended here, but what keeps you hungry and motivated to do more and to continue to keep learning?
Well, I got into cooking quite young. I used to watch my grandmother cook. And my grandmother, we used to cook first. There was, I think it was 9 in her family. And she used to make fresh shoulder breads, fresh potato breads, fresh scones. She was always cooking. And I remember looking at her going, this woman's incredible. This woman's amazing. Like, how can she do this here? Like, this is nothing short of a miracle. And then I remember one Saturday afternoon, a TV show come on called Yan Can Cook. I don't know if any of you remember that. It was a Chinese guy. And his motto was, if Yan can cook, so can you. So I was like, I can cook? Wow, I can cook. This is brilliant. So I decided to watch all these cooking shows. I used to write the things down, and I remember going into my parents after it and saying, like, I want to be a chef when I'm older. And they laughed at me and says, you're only a kid, you don't know what you're talking about, stuff like this. So my first opportunity came along when I was 17 at a local hotel, and they were looking for a trainee chef. So I applied for this job, and I got the job, and the first day I was doing the job was peeling potatoes, as all chefs do when they go in. And I thought, this is not the job that I wanted. I wanted to be a chef. So I had to learn how to peel carrots, peel onions, peel potatoes. And I just thought, right, I'm going to get my qualifications here to be a chef. And once I got my qualifications to become a chef, I went over to work in a place called Jersey in the Channel Islands, where I thought, this is the business. I am now a chef. So I went into this kitchen, and the first chef said to me, says, okay, your job is peel potatoes. And I'm like, are you joking here? Are you serious? I says, I'm a chef. He says, you're not a chef, son. You're a spud peeler. And I'm like, right, okay, fair enough. This is great. This is great. I got my qualifications. I left Belfast, not to peel potatoes, but I'm now in Jersey peeling potatoes, and I thought, this is not right. So then I says, right, okay. So I stuck this job for nearly a year in Jersey peeling potatoes. And then when I was there, he leaving, he says, look, if you want to progress as a chef and you want to be the chef who you say you are, you're going to have to learn your trade in London. So I said, right. He says, where do you recommend going? He says, best place is the Savoy Hotel in London, big 5-star hotel. I thought, yeah, brilliant. This is class, great. I'm going to London. First job I had in London was what? Guess what, boys?
Peanut potatoes.
I remember getting into the kitchen, and I remember the chef said to me, he says, okay, chef, he says, like all chefs, as we do in this kitchen, you start in the food section. And I just thought to myself, here we go. I says, no problem. I says, I'm here to learn. What do you want me to do? He says, see them boxes of potatoes over there? Peel them potatoes. So I just looking at this going, you're having a laugh. You're having a laugh. By that stage, I was cooking nearly 3 years. I was in kitchens nearly 3 years, and I just thought, 3 years of doing this job, I'm peeling potatoes. So I learned the hard way. I was smart. We had a thing called a turn potato, and he asked me to turn his potato. I couldn't turn his potato. So he says, right, you're going to learn the hard way. So he put me on from peeling potatoes to peel carrots, to peel onions, to peel this, to peel this, to peel this, to peel this. And I just gone, no way. This is not right. So I just said, okay, I want to learn here. put my pride to the side, learned what I was told him, worked my way up, and then says, right, this is Savoy has taught me how to now from cutting veg, cutting potatoes, to become a good chef, become a better person. I thought this was great. I left London, I came back to Ireland and went into a hotel, and the first thing I had to do when I worked in this hotel was peeling potatoes. And I ain't gone, I've left the Savoy hotel, 5-star hotel, and now you're getting me peeling potatoes. I said, this is not right. But cut a long story short, 25 years later on, I'm still peeling potatoes, but I'm a far better chef.
So, what is that? Is it like a rite of passage when you enter another chef's restaurant that they want to test you to see your competencies?
Yeah, basically what it is, mate. You've got to go in. You've got to have basic knife skills. You've got to learn how to. Basically, what I mean by knife skills, you've got to learn how to peel a potato. You've got to learn how to peel a carrot. You've got to learn how to chop an onion a certain way. You've got to peel an onion a certain way. You've got to learn the classic terms like a julienne, a macédoine, a brunoise. And basically, all chefs should have basic kitchen sense and basic knife skills. And if you don't have basic knife skills in the kitchen, then most chefs know right away that you're not a chef.
Huh, interesting.
So it's fair to say persistence is I mean, is there anything in you like your makeup that made you, I mean, you have to be patient for a start, you have to be persistent, and you have to be, I suppose, learn about respect. Is there anything in your background, do you think, that made you be like that?
Well, patient, yes, I would say definitely. And arrogance, I think, comes in along because whenever you're young, you know yourself. You want to be the best you can. You want to be the best. And my always attitude was, I want to be the best at this. I want to do this. I want to stick with this. Because if I don't stick with this job, what else can I do? Like I didn't go to university. I didn't get qualifications in being a doctor or anything like that. So I thought, well, I'm going to stick being a chef here because this is something I could enjoy and this is something I could do. And this is something I could travel the world with as being a chef. And I'm lucky enough from being the experience that I've had in the past has brought me to such good, amazing places and got me to learn and appreciate what I had to do in the past and what I'm doing now.
So what drives you to keep on improving now? And
well, the good thing about chefing, you learn every day. Food trends change every single day. Like if I have somebody, I will watch cookery shows, I would look stuff online, and I would say, okay, that's a recipe. I can improve that. I can do this different. I can make this better than the other person can make this. And then I pass on my knowledge from doing that to the other people.
There's some great recipes on LinkedIn I spotted. It makes me very hungry, Paul, when I see some of them coming out.
Cheers, mate. I wouldn't say the good thing about that I try and make food simple, because too many people complex food and people make it complicated. Don't get me wrong, I see food that looks amazing and they go, wow. But at the same time, if I go out for a meal, I want simplicity. I want food which is it's easy. Because when I say to my staff, I says, look, at the end of the day, you're making simple food. Don't complicate the food, because when you complicate food, you complicate the customers. And then the customers say, well, what's this here? I don't know what this is. And then they're going to say, well, I'm not eating there because I don't know what that is. So if you say to a customer, there's cannelloni bean on croûte, they're going to go, what's that? You say, beans on toast. You go, right, okay, fair enough, Simple things. So always try and keep it simple. Always keep it basic so people can understand.
Yeah.
One quick question before we move topics there. When you take a new chef on into your kitchen, what's the first job you give them?
Peel potatoes.
For how many years?
No, honestly, I honestly do, man. I honestly get them to peel potatoes because it's the same as I don't do it for badness. I do it because at the same time, I want to see their reaction. Because I'm a great believer. I see when they're peeling potatoes, I see them as me when I first started cooking. And then when I get master peeling potato, I get them on to do different things and show them how to make basic sauces. But the first thing is all sections in all hotels throughout the world, you have to learn on the veg section, because the veg section, as we call it, is the garnish, is the most important part of any section. Because if you don't get your veg right, it's not cut the proper way, it doesn't look the proper way, people will see that and just go, well, like I had a chef who used to walk around with a ruler and measure the veg to make sure it was the right size.
Wow.
And if it wasn't the right size, he would cut it up and throw it in the bin and just say, throw it in the bin, do it again.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I've learned to now these days to appreciate any chef who wants to come into the kitchen and learn how to cook, because cooking is a hard job. Cooking is a very demanding job.
Yes.
And people don't realize that, because it's a lot different cooking in the kitchen at home than it is cooking in the professional kitchen. When you're cooking in the professional kitchen, you're dealing with irate customers, you're dealing with staff. Sometimes you're tired and you're working 13, 14-hour days.
Yeah.
And you're trying to motivate them to say, right, come on, I need you to do this, keep going. But people don't understand how difficult it can be. But so I respect and appreciate, and I'm always thankful that new chefs who come into the kitchen, into my kitchen, because they want to learn and they want to learn their craft, basically.
Yeah. And I think you touched upon a great point, and I love watching cooking shows myself, and they are exactly what you've just described, high pressure environments. So when service starts to wobble, or there's pressures in the kitchen or in the restaurant, what's your first move as a head chef and a leader? What do you say? What do you check? What standards do you defend, no matter what the cost? How do you approach these?
Well, I have a theory. I always say to people, we ask, we believe, we receive, and we stay focused. And what I mean by we ask, we believe, and we receive is, we ask, we're gonna have a great service. We're gonna have the ask. This is gonna be the best. This is where we're asking. We're gonna be the best. And then we believe that the service that we're going to do for these customers is going to be the best. And then when we do a great service, we can go at the end of it and say, we've done it. That's our receiving. Cooking in a service is like a musician going on stage, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because when a musician goes on stage, they're performing in front of an audience. It's the same in my kitchen. I say to my staff, you're the musicians, I'm the singer, you're my backing group. We have to perform here. People pay tickets to go to see a concert. People pay money to eat our food. People don't eat our food, they don't come back. People go to see a musician, the musician's rubbish, they don't go and see him again. So I always make sure that the food is good, and I always make sure my staff perform to the best that they can.
That's fantastic. That's great advice. I love that. Say it again. Ask, believe, receive.
Ask, believe, and receive.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So even during different things, I always say to them, like in everyday life, I ask myself, am I a good chef? Then I believe in myself, I will be a good chef. And then when I become a chef, I was a good chef, not just peanut potatoes.
Very good.
So when does it? I mean, you do all that preparation, put on a performance. How do you deal with difficult customers that you can never please? And the food's exactly.
You're always going to get difficult customers, Liam. You're not going to please everybody every time, because, like, I had a complaint once. Somebody complained, he's got more peas on his plate than I have. And you're going, well, what do you mean he's got more peas on your plate than you have? I says, the dish that you have is different than his. His dish contains peas, your dish doesn't. Your dish it's a garnish, and his dish is with peas. And I says, well, what would you like me to do different with that? And he says, well, give me more peas. So people like that, I just laugh at, and I go, yeah, all right, fair enough. They say the customer's always right, but the customer isn't always right. But at the end of the day, it's like every chef and every person has a different taste. So, like, some people taste things before they put salt and pepper on it. Some people just put salt and pepper on things before they taste it. So I would always say to them, well, okay, that's fair enough. Don't like what I'm doing, but you tell me how I can improve for you to make the food better. 9 times out of 10, they don't know how to do it. 10 times out of 10, they say, well, you're the chef, I'm not, but I'm the paying customer. And I go, yes, you are the paying customer, but at the end of the day, I know what I'm doing. You don't know the difference between a fillet steak and a ribeye steak, which most people don't,
Yeah. No, I mean, that's great. I mean, there are certain customers that you just never can please, and it must be must be a nightmare. So,
yeah,
but you don't just cook, you write. So what was the spark that moved you into showcasing your passion and talent for cooking into the written word?
It all started during lockdown, and I was on furlough with the work I was working, and I thought, I'm going to write up a website, and it started coming into my head, and I thought, well, Well, everything I was looking at was costing money, costing money, costing money. And then by that stage, it was on LinkedIn, and I sent messages to people to say, I'm a chef from Ireland. Would you be interested in seeing some of my work? So you're basically you're pitching to all these people who you don't know who they are or what they are and things like this. So the first paper I did was a paper in Belfast, Fitz, you would know this, called The Sunday Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent off a photograph, and I sent off my recipe, and I said, this is my food. It says, yes, we love that. We'll publish it in next week's paper. So I thought nothing of it. I thought this was going to be like a small article. So it was a foods page spread of my food, photograph of me, the whole family seeing it, all my mates seeing it before I seen it, and they're all before me mad. Said, Paul, this food's brilliant. And then I thought, do it again. Yes, I'll do it again. So by that stage, me being me, always wanted to better myself. I thought I want to do better. So I pitched to America. I pitched to New York. I pitched to Los Angeles. I pitched to different places all over America. And I thought, okay. And then an Irish newspaper in New York got back to me, called the Irish Examiner USA, which you probably know, Fitz. And they got back to me, and they asked me to do something. So then did something for them, and then it just took on from there. I got selected for different magazines. I got selected for different TV shows, such as Fox USA, to go on and talk about my food. And still to this day, during lockdown, they're writing for 10 different publications.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. And I mean, full disclosure, I mean, you know, as you know, Paul, I mean, I read your weekly recipes and often get inspiration. I mean, they are really fantastic, and we'll post the links to that. So anyone else that's interested in cooking, I mean, as you touched upon there, you know, it's simple, you know, and incredibly tasty. So I mean, if the likes of me can manage to go on.
Well, I was just going to say, well, that was like you. Sure, remember, the first recipe I gave you was the dessert, and I remember at the time I was all excited for you, and you're going up and saying, "Liam, you would love this," and Justy's got up and saying, "Right, I've got the apples, I've got this here," and then he sent me photographs step by step how he was making this, and I'm sitting going, "Wow, this is incredible," you know. See when you touch somebody who you didn't really know, who becoming a good friend. Making your food, the other side of the world, and taking photographs of it, and just saying, I'm making your recipe now in Texas, or I'm making your recipe in Hong Kong, and this is my results that I do. And give the big man his due. When he made the food, I was like, wow. I was touched. I was actually inspired by you, because you went out of your way to buy the ingredients, to make the stuff, to make the food, to make the effort. And then when you did make it, the food looked incredible, man. I was very impressed. I was very proud.
It was very tasty. Yeah,
that's why
tasty.
You have to share
simple, tasty, healthy. But
yeah, exactly.
You have to share a clip, Fitzy, of your cooking. Yeah, so we can have a look. But I won't show you mine, Paul, because you'll be absolutely disgusted.
Well, here, you know what, man? I've seen. Can you peel a potato?
No.
Yeah,
Don't ask me. I think I made meatballs for my little boy. I'll put him off meatballs for life, and myself. I do. So, but like going back, one very important point actually you made about COVID and what you've shown there is adaptability. And actually, COVID forced people and businesses to look at what they were doing. And actually, you know, some fell by the wayside, but some really took upon the opportunity. And it did that. And, you know, with your writing and what you're doing. And it also shows the power of social media, the good side of social media, the reach and the influence you can have by what you do. Yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's good because, well, as you're saying, we'll go back to lockdown. Lockdown opened its eyes to a lot of people. A lot of people suffered, a lot of people gained. And still a lot of people suffer and a lot of people gain through mental health and things like that. So one of the main reasons what I wanted to do was try and get people in the mindset, you know what, I can do something here during lockdown. I don't have to be miserable. I don't have to sit around the house. You know, do something with yourself and make yourself proud of what you're doing. And now a lot of people are now beginning to do that. They're now, okay, yes, there's still a lot of people who are still suffering, which is sad, which is terrible. But at the same time, it's opened its eyes to a lot of people. And through social media, now people are starting to react, to connect with people throughout the world, whether it's in America, it's in Australia, whether it's in England, wherever it is. Social media is good for people, but it's also bad for people.
Yeah, it comes with a downside. But one thing we were saying before you started is, now, if you want to start a venture or a business, do you need a website? Just go on social media, set up a Facebook page, LinkedIn
Well,
page.
that's
Yeah.
it. Like, if it wasn't for LinkedIn, obviously I wouldn't have met Justy, but I think with LinkedIn, it's classed as a professional network, and it does connect professionals. It does connect people together. And the way I look at it is, when I put food up on LinkedIn, there could be somebody looking at it in Hong Kong, somebody looking at it in Sydney, somebody could be looking at it. No matter where you're looking at it, you just don't know, and you don't know who your audience is. Which I love about it, because then when I do put a recipe up or a dish up, I get recipes from all over the place to say, you've inspired me to cook, and you've touched me for doing this. And to me, I think that's the best feeling I could ever get. Is somebody to create a dish that you've made, or made a dish like yourself, just like you've made something that I've made, and say, I've done that, I've made this. This is incredible.
So when you post your recipes up on LinkedIn, bearing in mind as a business audience, you make your recipes simple for busy business people, or do you have that kind of motive?
I always make it simple then, because see, when you make it difficult, people lose interest.
Yeah.
People don't want to know, because if I get trying and say, okay, I'm going to make a tornadola rossini with the bordelaise sauce, palm this and palm that and palm that. People looking at it going, what's that? Yes, chefs might know what you're talking about, but your average person who will go on and look at your food, who just likes LinkedIn or likes to cook or like to follow things, they would say, yes, I like that, we'll do that. But if you, as soon as you go back to the same thing as I was saying, when you start putting complicated dishes on it, people look at it and go, yeah, it looks all right. And then people these days are up for, I've got 500 views, or I've got 600 comments, I've got 700 comments on my dish what I've just cooked. To me, that doesn't matter. See, as you touch one person to say, I like that, that's me happy.
Yeah.
So don't complicate.
And what's coming through in spades there is your growth mindset. Had a window of time within COVID to get your message out and to share your love of cooking, but different situations, running a world-class restaurant and organizing your staff and in the kitchen and in the restaurant and all the rest of it, and then presenting your work in an absorbable way for people to, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, to be inspired to have a go at it. So it's really impressive problem solving, because again, I look at your stuff weekly and I'm thinking, wow, I could give that a go, right? And I've certainly no aspiration ability to work in in a high performing restaurant. So it's really very, very impressive, which kind of segues on, as we spoke about there, you publish around the world all these different different recipes. Has that changed your voice or your thought process as a chef in terms of sharing those recipes, or does it impact the way that you look at how you do things in your restaurant?
It does. And to be quite honest with you, I do get a lot of stick, because a lot of them go up and go, Paul Waters is on like that again. There you go. He's making this again. Why does he not make this for us? Why does he not do that for us? So the food that I do on LinkedIn, believe it or not, right, I actually don't do in the restaurants.
Huh.
I actually do at home. So the food that you actually see, I actually cook in the house and I eat it myself. And then so whenever I look at it, because 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't have time to make a dish for LinkedIn in the kitchen. So whenever I come home again from work, like a hard day at work, I would start cooking again. And then I would say, right, okay. And then I would try a different dish in my head. I would have it through my head all day, and I would say, right, okay, I'm going to make this. So whenever I do make this dish at home, I'm like hanging over to this kitchen sink. I'm on the table. I'm wherever it is, so I can try and get the best shot of that particular photograph. But I always want to try and make it better. And then when it does, if it does sell, if it does look good and I'm happy with it, then I will put it onto the restaurant and say, right, I'm now going to make this and do this, and then get all people's feedback. 9 times out of 10, I do that, and a lot of people do love it.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And even as we were talking about there, your photography really portrays the tastiness of the dish. That's not easy to do, right? So presumably you figured that out. you self-taught yourself how to do that, because
Yeah,
it really comes across very, very impressively.
thanks very much. Yeah, but that's the whole idea. Like, to make the food good, to make the food simple, but at the same time, you've got to make it appealing. So the way I look at it is, I want to take the photograph for food, for people to see, to go, well, okay, this is simple. This is my eyes, what I see, what people want to see. Because at the end of the day, the saying goes, like, I was saying, like, you might laugh at this, and the shadow behind your eyes. So like to yourself, I always like to see what people see, because people eat with their eyes first
Mhm.
before they eat with their mouth. So if people are looking at this and say, you know what, that looks good, like you just said, Justin, that looks great in photography and that looks brilliant, I could eat that, I can make that. But if it goes back to the same thing as I was saying, if you're going to make a dish, it looks complicated and doesn't look good, people are going to say, well, I'm not going to bother making that.
So moving on, Paul, walk us through your simple, tasty, healthy method as a system.
As it says, simple, tasty, healthy. I want to make food as simple for people to make. I want to make it as healthy for people, because a lot of these days people are, so back when we were saying about COVID, people are trying to be healthy eaters. People are trying to watch what they eat. So if people are eating healthy, they're still enjoying the food. And obviously the PW part is obviously myself, the tasty, because you're eating it and you're going, that's nice. I really enjoy that. It's simple to cook. It's very nice and it's healthy and it's by PW, which is made by myself.
So where can you find all the recipes? Where are most of them posted?
I do a lot of recipes on request. So I put the food up on my Facebook page, Simple,
Facebook.
Tasty, Healthy by PW, or on LinkedIn. And if people like the food, they would ask me, can I get the recipe? And I would write the recipe, because on previous occasions, I put up the recipe. People have taken the recipe, people have taken my profile and used it for themselves. So now I just have to put my name on the recipe, my name on the photograph, so people don't try and take it.
Yeah, that must happen a lot. So if you put up a photo of the food you've done, someone copies it and say, "Look what I prepared."
Somebody has copied it and used it for themselves. Like recently, I did a food picture of myself and the food, and a certain person booked themselves in a different country under my name, under my chef name, under my
Yeah,
publication, and charged the company a lot of money to cook the food, but the person never turned up. The person sent me a message, who was supposed to be doing in this particular place, and said, you were supposed to be up in our company today cooking this food, but you never showed up, and we paid you a lot of money, but you didn't show up. Why not? And I'm
Wow.
like, well, I am not in your country. I know nothing about this. I have to try and prove to these people that I am who I am, but I'm not the person who used my fake profile.
Wow.
So quick question on that with AI and Chat GPT. Does this when you how do you deal with that aspect? Like if you're posting like recipes, I suppose you build your brand, and therefore
Well,
you're not threatened by people plugging it in. Like, how do I make meatballs or something? You put
well,
your name to it.
ChatGPT it's a good tool for people, because technology is changing. Everything is changing these days. For example, I chat GPI myself quite a lot, and then I would actually see it, and I would go, "That's good. I like that." But there's some things, if I'm not sure about how to make something, I would say, okay, I would go on to Chat GPT or Chat whatever it is, and AI, and look up a recipe. It's now quicker than the likes of Ask Google or Ask Siri, whatever it is. That gives you the recipe, and I would look at that and I would go, well, okay, that's good, that's bad, but that's not my recipe. But this is my recipe. So I can even put a photograph of my food on ChatGPT, and it would say, this is made by Paul Waters, and this is the recipe. Even before I even write the recipe out, I'm going, well, that's quick.
Yeah, but it's
Mm.
like with all things with AI. I mean, it's not authentic, and someone
No,
still has to make the food,
no.
and that's where the soft skills, I suppose, if you're talking
Yeah.
business
I,
terms.
I think old school is the best,
Yeah,
because too many people do rely on AI, and too many people rely on false imagery, and too many people rely on false advertising and things like that. If you show what your food is all about, or you show what your business is all about, you've got nothing to hide on AI or anything like that. People will
yeah.
trust you better than doing your own food, or your own imagery, or your own contact, than anything else.
Did you do many videos or?
Unfortunately, I've got a small kitchen,
Oh, okay.
And I used to do videos, and unfortunately, I'm not doing them as much, but I'll hopefully be doing more soon.
You should do a live stream, Paul, in your
Well,
kitchen.
this is a thing I'm looking on now. This is the thing I'm looking at.
Okay.
I'm actually going to get, obviously, maybe yourself and Justin and a few others, and say,
Well,
okay, we'll get like a cooking demonstration and say, right, okay, we've got our ingredients. This is how we cook this, and this is how we cook this, and then do like a big a call. So you say, right, I'm cutting the onions. I've got my onions cut. I've got this here. We'll put the onions in the pan. So I can watch you, like, see you two cutting an onion and peeling the potato and
feeding potatoes.
Can I volunteer Moo to be the potato
Yeah, great idea.
peeler?
Oh, there I go.
Oh.
That could be a good idea. Well, he is from Guernsey, so apparently they are good at peeling potatoes over there anyway. So
Oh yeah. I can't peel potato, Paul, as well. I've got to be honest.
There you go.
well, you may get the spuds out, mate.
Yeah.
As you were saying earlier about how, the restaurant business is always changing, people's tastes and appetite and new trends coming in. How do you as a head chef install those new standards, recipes within your restaurant? And how do you inspire, train, inspect your staff to make sure that when that new recipe goes into production on the restaurant, that those standards are top notch?
Local produce is everything.
Hmm.
From local potatoes, the local carrots, local fish, local lamb, local beef. As I said earlier on, every day is a learning process. Most chefs don't know what things are. If there's a chef, I go to my chef and I will say to him, okay, do you know what this particular product is? Do you know what this cut of meat is? Do you know what this particular cut of fish is? Do you know what this particular vegetable is? If they say no, we don't know what it is, and you say, okay, well, this is a rump steak, this is a courgette, this is an aubergine. Basically, so this way, it gives you an understanding of what the chef knows, who you're trying to teach, what their basics are, what they know, what they don't know. And then whatever you show them how to make the food, make the dish from the local produce, and then say, okay, this is what we're going to display, this is what we're going to produce, we're going to make this for the customers coming in. And if you're not sure how to make it, you create your own dish, your own way, but at the same time, it's my intake on the food.
And so do you personally go out to its or suppliers to make sure that you're getting what you want? And is it that personal, the relationship?
I used to, but a lot of them still come into me,
Okay.
and they would turn around and say to me, okay, Paul, we have great mushrooms in at the moment, shiitake mushrooms, we have great oyster mushrooms in at the moment, we have great this in at the moment. I said, I think this will go well with this. Most local suppliers know food, which is good, because they would actually advise me as well and say, okay, well, Paul, we've got this particular dish with this particular spinach, say, for example, and we think this will go well with this here. This is a new product that we are trying. Why don't you try this on your menu and do this with it? So they actually are up to date with the trends as well, like myself, but they are also good ideas, but they say, well, make this and make that and try this and see.
Is it a big thing for them as well? So it's prestigious for them to
Yeah, of
promote
course,
their
of course.
project if you're cooking it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the way I look at it is I try and publicize as much food as I can, because if a product's good and I like a particular product, I would advertise it and I would say, as used by Paul Waters, I'm using this particular dish because if I think it's brilliant, I will say how good they are and how brilliant they are.
Yeah.
And if they're rubbish, I will not promote them in any way, because at the end of the day, I believe in honesty. And if they're telling me their food's good and their product's good, I would use it. And if it is good, I will promote them. If they say their food is the best, I would expect the best. But if it's not the best, I'm not going to use it again and just say no, because I'm a firm believer in trying everything once. And if it's good, I'll use it again. If it doesn't get good a couple of times, then I'll say, well, no, maybe not. This is not for me.
Yeah, and your name goes to it. So if it's bad,
Well, of course,
yeah.
because at the end of the day, it goes back to what we were saying earlier on about annoying customers and customers complaining. Customers aren't going to take a bit of lettuce, which is brown,
Yeah,
because
slugs in.
our slugs in it. Yes, exactly. Or people are going to look at it and just say, well, look, I'm paying £16 here for something, but this is not the best quality of ingredients that you're using. I know some supermarkets in all over the world are using cheap produce, but at the same time, why use cheap? Just pay. Like, I'd rather pay the extra money to get something which is good they pay less money to have something which is bad, which is not going to last you 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah, yeah. So going on, you're a sports fan, and
Yep.
we spoke about this before we jumped on the show. Your father was a boxer, and you say your two uncles were
Yep.
boxers, and was it your father or your uncle that fought against Alan Minter?
Father.
Father, yeah. So, and obviously you're a big rugby fan, and that's how you got to know Fitzy. Are there any messaging from sport that you bring into your career, in terms of teamwork, leadership?
Well, you know yourselves, you play rugby yourself, and in the dressing room, it's always quiet, right? So the first thing you always do is you always listen. You listen what the coach is telling you. It's the same as in the kitchen, because the kitchen's a team. You listen to what the head chef is telling you. Once you listen, you think, and then you produce. So it's the exact same thing. You know, you listen, you think, and you produce. You know, so you're listening to you're listening what your coach is telling you. You're listening what your head chef is telling you. You're thinking about how you're going to do it, and how you're going to play in the field. And it's exactly the same in the kitchen. How you're going to perform in the kitchen, and then how you're going to produce the food, and then how you're going to produce your plan on the pitch. Whether it's against the All Blacks, whether it's against England, whether it's against Ireland, or against South Africa.
So it's fair to say that the restaurant is your pitch, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Well, it's my
and
pitch, it's my stage.
Yeah, and the kitchen is basically the preparation, the training ground.
Yeah, basically.
Effectively.
Yeah.
So your mindset is like, we've got to produce the end result on the pitch, i.e. the restaurant, and the preparation goes on.
Exactly.
in the
So
kitchen.
it's exactly what you're just saying. The kitchen before service is the training ground. You know, you can put it that way. You know, so you're doing your training, you're doing your basics, you're learning, you're doing your development, you're doing this here, and then whenever service starts, that's match day. That's when you perform. That's when you have to perform.
Basically, if you do all your preparation in the kitchen and you know that you're going to produce the end result out on the pitch, you don't always, if you do the preparation, you don't always get the result, and that's probably the customers who you can't always please. I presume you're not in control of that.
Well, yes. Well, you're not always going to get that. I always try and be the best and have the best preparation, because at the end of the day, like when you're fully prepped in the kitchen, you're set, you're organized. We have a thing called mise en place, which is a classic French term for preparation of food. So most chefs will go up to and say, right, I want you to get your mise en place done, which is your preparation of food. So if a chef in their section, whether it's a veg section, the meat section, the sauce section, or a soup section, has got all their prep done and everything prepared that they should have prepared, there's no reason why they can't have a bad service. And there's no reason why a customer can't complain. Because if you're halfway through a service and a chef comes up, which has happened to me on quite a few occasions, I've run out of steak, I've run out of fish, I've run out of this, and you're going, what do you mean you've run out of this? And I'm going, it's halfway through service and you haven't got this. So you have to tell the waiter or the waitress there's no steak left. And they're looking at you going, I have to go down to the customer and tell them there's no steak at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night. And you're sitting thinking, going, well, what's the chef been doing all day? Why has he not told me this sooner? So you're made to look stupid. The floor staff are made to look stupid. And then the person who said to me there's no steak looks stupid as well. So then people, they then get annoyed and angry and just say, well, look, I'm not coming back here because you have no steak.
Yeah, all the team have got to concentrate on their own
Of course.
individual roles, from peeling potatoes.
Exactly. Plus, the most important thing in any kitchen and any job is communication. If you don't communicate for what you're going to do, how you're going to perform, like in any job, you have to communicate with your staff. Communicate with your staff, respect your staff, and appreciate your staff, and then you will get the results. If you don't appreciate your staff and respect your staff, they'll not respect you. You know, so that's my big thing. I always make sure they always do that and say thank you.
Mm. What's coming through in spades listening to you there? I mean, you're looking for constant improvement, which is a mark of a high performer. Cooking, like life, is a journey. You're constantly looking for gains and improvements and so on and so forth. What's one belief you've held for years but you've since upgraded, and what was the thought process on or what was the spark that made you change that thought?
Hunger, desire, passion. You know, I always knew At an early age, my grandmother told me that I had a talent, and I didn't understand what she meant when I was younger. And it wasn't one day; it was actually until she passed. Before she passed, she told me that you will whenever you find out you have your talent, you'll feel much better for this. So I'm running around for years and years trying to find out what my talent was. Was it chefing? Was it doing this? Was it playing sport? Was it whatever I was doing? And it wasn't one day till I was actually standing in a kitchen and I seen the kitchen performing the way I wanted the kitchen to perform. And I remember looking back to myself and saying, this is my grandmother here. Because it's her saying, this is your talent. This is what you have developed. This is what you have performed. And this is what you have brought together. So to have the desire and the passion to be better yourself and improve yourself every day, to me, I was going to bring with me.
Would you say that you're obsessed with it? Is that what drives you?
Obsessed in a way, but at the same time, I'm not fussy. You know, at the end of the day, I want food to be cooked nice. I want it to look nice. I want it to taste nice. But at the same time, I would be obsessed with myself if I don't do food right and I don't make it look right, because at the end of the day, it will reflect on me that it doesn't look good. So I would actually be annoyed at myself and obsessed with myself. I'd say, come on, Paul, you can do better than this. You should be doing better than this here. You know, catch a
Yeah.
grip on yourself.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely a trait of high achievers is obsession.
Obsession is it's like all jobs. It's like sales jobs. It's like all jobs. We always strive for the best and be
Yeah,
the best when we can. And it goes back to the saying that I say: we ask, we believe, and receive. We
yeah,
ask, we're the best salespeople. We receive, we're the best salespeople, and we believe we are the best salespeople. It's the same with cooking, the same with sports people.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do the pitch to say, I'm going to be the best footballer here today, you know, or I'm going to be the best rugby player here today. And then you ask yourself, am I the best rugby player? You know, like, am I football team at the moment? They're not exactly the best football team at the moment. So I don't think they're using my theory. So if I was managing my football team at the moment, I would say, right, guys, come on here. We'll have to ask, believe, and receive here. We're a good football team, you know, but unfortunately they're not. So, and I'm not the football manager.
So coming on to obsession, I mean, a bit of a curveball question, like resilience and adversity. Have you ever felt, have you had times in your career where you've ever felt like, oh, it's too much, or jacking it in, or how do you deal with a situation that's really bad in the kitchen, and what tips can you give to us?
Don't give up. Resilience is a massive thing to me, you know, because at the end of the day, we're all going to get knocked down. We're all going to get knockbacks. We're all going to, like, whenever I was younger, whenever I was learning, whenever I was in college, the lecturer at the time said to me, he says, you'll never be a chef, which I took out personally. I was like, but I want to be a chef. Little did they know that I was peeling potatoes for my first 3 years after that, but that's when I wanted to pack it in and just says, you know what, maybe this job's not for me. Maybe this is not for me. But I stuck with it because I knew I could better myself. And the good thing about cooking, you can travel the world. Everybody wants to eat. So I've been very fortunate to stick with the job I'm doing for doing it so long. I've been lucky enough to see the world, working places where one of the works such as the Savoy hotels, the Sydney opera houses and places like that, because you get one chance in life. You may as well make a go of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Moving on to the next question. So Belfast is on a plate. What supplier or partnership or local ingredient change your ceiling, and how do you turn that into turn province into process?
Depends what
Provenance,
you're
I should
given.
say.
The problem's just, it depends what you're given. You know, a good chef can turn a carrot into a soup. A good chef can turn a carrot into a casserole. A good chef can turn a carrot into a roasty. You know, so I would always say to three people that have three, as you just said, three particular things in the kitchen: have a potato, a carrot, and an onion, or a frying pan, a wok, and a pot, because you can do so much in them particular things. You know, everything has its different use. You know, so always use what the three things you need to have. Make sure you use it good and use it wisely.
Most leaders inspire, great ones transfer skill. What's one drill you give your junior chef or home cook that moves their performance the fastest, and why?
Knowledge. I think it's good what I've learned down the years to pass on knowledge to people, because at the end of the day, because I may have learned the hard way in cooking. I say at the same time, I wouldn't want people to go through what I went through whenever I was learning how to cook. So I always take the time to nourish, to appreciate, and to be grateful for the people who I'm showing. if you know what I mean.
Can you give us an example? So you've got a new chef, and we joked earlier in the show about peeling potatoes. How do you move? And again, your very important skill, your knife skills, as you've explained. Can you give us one example of how you would nourish that relationship with that young chef and move them on and get the best out of them?
Yeah, of course. So what I normally do is like I said, which we just said, I would start them on the veg section, and then after that, I would bring them on to like the cold section, which where they make the salads and starters and things like that. So this way, they're still doing they're still getting their basic kitchen sense. They're still getting their basic knife skills, but they're learning new skills. They're learning how to make a dressing. They learn how to make a mayonnaise. They learn how to make a vinaigrette. They learn how to present food now. So they know how to plate the food up. Once they're keen and they're happy enough to progress, I would now bring them on to like a soup section. So I would show them how to make a soup, like a basic broth with a basic pureed soup. Because the more you show people, I think, and the more you take time with people, the more interested they will become. Because if you don't take the time with people and just say, there you go, just go into the corner, they're just going to lose interest. Because at the end of the day, you need them to be the best that they can. I mean, when you're the best that you can, it looks back on you to say, well, you just show me how to make this. You have taught me. Like I get people still come up to me down the line and saying, you were my chef 15, 16 years ago. You showed me how to cook this, and I'm now still cooking. I'm forever grateful for what you're doing to me, so thank you very much.
That's great advice.
That's the leadership tree, Fitzy.
Yeah, no.
It's the leadership tree,
course,
starting from your
course.
grandmother, and then to you, and then to all the people that you trained.
Of course, well, it's all about respect as well, Liam. Because at the end of the day, we all have to learn. We still learn, no matter what job we're doing, whether it's in life, whether it's in everything. We all learn. And anybody says they knows everything, then I have no time for people like that.
So, going into quick fire questions, straight answers. Don't think too much about them, or you can if you want. So there are 5 questions. One negotiable standard, and your one not.
Personal hygiene.
Okay, good point. £10 flavour upgrade anyone can do tonight. What is it?
Chicken curry.
Okay, I can't do chicken curry.
I made a chicken curry last night. Very tasty it was too.
Was it my recipe?
No, it was my recipe actually.
You have to give me the recipe.
Oh, well, of course.
Try and see.
Belfast on a plate of 3 ingredients.
I can give you 4.
4, okay, fine. I'll take 4.
Bacon, sausage, egg, and a pint of Guinness.
Nice. That sounds pretty tasty. The worst kitchen advice you hear and your fix.
Look at the state of that. Are you going to serve that?
And your fix?
Yeah. Don't do it again.
And one behaviour you're over-invest in every time, and why?
Enjoyment. Enjoy what you do. Love what you do.
And why, would you say?
And why? Because if you enjoy it, how do you expect other people to enjoy it?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Paul. It's been great having you on the show today. Has taught us the rules don't change, clarity, communication, and care for the product. Paul showed us how Belfast Pantry and a leader's standards can turn ordinary days into a world-class reputation. If this helped, hit subscribe and share it with one teammate who sets the tone when it matters. Thank you, Paul, for joining us on the business end.
Cheers, boys. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.